Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast here in Los Angeles with the main man from Team McKinson, Michael Balinghall. Yeah, I don't know if I caught the yawn at the start, but you're still adapting to US time, and it's tough, isn't it? It's tough, mate. I can I can see.
Oscar.
That's why you got the glasses on. You're knackered, aren't you?
Oscar. Yeah, I don't want to. I know. Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah. Yesterday I was really bad, and obviously wanted to do the interview yesterday, and I was just like, I'll keep away from him. I'm going to get away from you. I did have a little bit of a sleep. A friend of mine gave me a sleeping tablet, and then my door was being booted in at probably about, I think it was maybe about 10 o'clock after I'd had 3 hours kit by one of the teams saying it's an emergency. I've got to come downstairs, and they've changed the opponent for the 4th time. But so I came downstairs, and obviously the original, not the original opponent, but the opponent we had before that we'd settled with hadn't made weight really shockingly badly, not even nowhere near the weight. I don't know why he'd even got in the vehicle to come down from Mexico to be here if he knew how heavy he actually really was. So we went upstairs into the room just to check to make sure, and the kid was like 170 pounds or something like that. So real shocking. So then we were left with a choice of 2 opponents. Obviously Mikey's been, we've been working on a particular style of fighting, and obviously it didn't work out. The lad that we've now got is totally different. Slick, southpaw, awkward, good boxer. Totally what we weren't looking for, but at the end of the day, it's boxing, I suppose. And you know, sometimes we turn up to the day for sparring, and the lad's not there that we're supposed to be sparring, and you have to spar someone completely different. So, you know, it is what it is. We're really this whole thing that has been sort of a mix around and that, and it's been all over the place. But Golden Boy, MTK, and Matchroom have all worked together to try and get the right opponent, and it's been a nightmare. But we've been congratulated on the way that we've handled all this, and we haven't been prima donnas by oh no, don't want him, don't like his hair, or I don't like him because he looks too horrible, and I don't, you know, we just whatever you give us, you know, we've taken. So we're left with this Alex Martin. So and I want to thank Alex Martin as well for stepping straight up. And so we've got a bit of a problem on our hands and a bit of a task, but you know, that's what Mikey's all about. He wasn't just given that name for no reason. And so we've got a problem to unravel, but also Alex Martin's got a problem in front of him as well. So Mikey's been very good. He's adjusted to the situation. Had a little bit of a 5-10 minutes of like effing and blinding or whatever. Not in front of me though, because he doesn't swear in front of his dad. And so he's adjusted. The whole team's adjusted. The weigh-ins are sorted out and everything now. So yeah, it's just concentrate on the job in hand, as we all say. We're at this stage now, day before the fight. Yeah.
I mean, just sort of a whirlwind week for Mikey. And you said about last night he had his little effing and blind. And I spoke to him. Well, I've been around him all week, and he's been kind of content with how it's all played out, considering he was in a pretty good mood. And I know he said last night was the first time he just felt like he's kind of snapped a little bit. Understandably, been complete hassle, but yeah, in the back of your mind, although look, Mikey will be fighting, he'll be getting paid, and he will perform in America on Saturday night. In the back of your mind, is there still that little bit of disappointment that he didn't get to fight Virgil? Because that was a fight that people in the UK were saying, Mikey's brave for taking this. And let's be honest, if he would have beaten Virgil Ortiz, we're talking about the best welterweight below the champions. So is there still that little bit in the back of your mind that's, you know, ultimately disappointed with the fact that he won't step in and fight Virgil?
Yes and no. Obviously we would have wanted to fight Virgil Ortiz because the platform that he's on, you beat a lad like him and then the whole world's looking at you. But because of the situation and the circumstances of what happened with Virgil Ortiz, people that might not have necessarily turned an eye, especially in the States, all of a sudden have heard this story about Virgil Ortiz and what's happened to him. And the next thing they ask themselves is, who's the lad that he was supposed to be fighting? And because of that, it's all changed now, and he's got American fighters calling him out, blah, 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 you know, whatever the reason it is, he's now everyone's looking at him. So yeah, and at the end of the day, if Mikey was going to go out and fight Virgil Ortiz, then he wouldn't have any problems taking fights with anybody else. So and so in a way, really, it is what it is. Things happen for a reason, and in life you just have to adjust and just deal with the cards that you played. Obviously, Virgil Ortiz is out. He's been out for what, I think 3 days now. I think it is now. So that's history. That's like old stuff. Do you know what I mean? A lot of things have happened since then. But I don't know the situation with Virgil Ortiz for the future. But I think if he's struggling to make weight that bad, I can't see him staying at 147. So and he's a big lad. So. But that's his life. That's what he's got to do. That's his thing. What we've got to do is concentrate on Alex Martin and beat him. We've been offered what's the word? If we beat Alex Martin, when we beat Alex Martin, we've been offered a shot back over this way. So they want us back. So yeah, we've got a job to do tomorrow, and then we can celebrate and move on.
I just want to talk about sort of the journey that Mikey's been on. Obviously, I've been doing this for 3 years, and I think Mikey was one of my first interviews. I've been at all of his last 4 or 5 fights or whatever. I remember 3 years ago when he was actually shouting down the camera, looking down the lens and going, "Give me big fights, mention my name to these people." Genuinely, and I could see that belief inside him that he wanted, because people call for big fights, but sometimes you kind of doubt if they really want them. I could see that he was begging and destined for a big fight. So just the journey sort of gone on from fighting on the smaller hall shows to getting that win in Gibraltar, and then next thing you know, Mikey's considered one of the best welterweights in the world.
Well, it goes a little bit more further back than that. Like at the beginning, I understand like IFL's a big platform and stuff, and you don't got time to interview every single fighter, but you must get a lot of fighters, excuse me, asking for it to be interviewed. And even before that, I remember chasing Coogan around at shows and him going, yeah, getting his phone number. And they go, ring me later on, and ignoring me and stuff like that. Because I'm trying to get like my young sons at interviews and stuff like that. And I totally get it, really. But you've got to pester and pester. But I think sometimes when if fighters just crack on with their careers and get the right fights, IFL come looking for them. You know what I mean? And it's the same with everything.
You become unavoidable. If you get into that position where you're in big enough fights, you're unavoidable.
You've got to put yourself in a position where they want to come to you, not you're chasing after them. There's a million people out there chasing after big platforms, but you have to do something that catches their eye, so they come to you. And so eventually, of just realising that Coogan's not going to answer the phone to me, we just cracked on and just hopefully we'll meet him at a different stage. And now we can't hide from you.
I was say now I've done 3 interviews with Mikey this week. It's not even fight night. But yeah, just in terms of like sort of the journey he's been on, and I suppose I was talking to Mikey about this as well. With his fighting style, there'll be a lot of people looking, and obviously he's only got 2 knockouts. I think some people think that it's kind of hard to market in a way. Like Virgil Ortiz is being marketed as this big banger, however many knockouts in the first round and whatnot. He's one of them people where he kind of has to win fights and has to put himself in the position for people to notice him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This sport of boxing, obviously it's boxing. It's not called knockouts, it's called boxing. But unfortunately, or fortunately, the general public and the mainstream sort of fans out there, they want to see knockouts. So obviously the markability of a fighter is based on their merits on knocking people out. So if unfortunately you haven't got that, then you have to go a different route about it. And the only way you can do it is by fighting these lads with the knockout records and beat them. And then you take a bit of their platform off them, and people start taking notice. In history, it's very difficult to do because the easy way is the knockout. You can have the worstest personality in the world, but if you're knocking people's spark out, you just they'll come running for you. But we've had to do it a totally different way. But there have been fighters out there in the past, and I know it's difficult, that have succeeded. People like Winky Wright, Paulie Malignaggi wasn't really a knockout merchant, and they made it based on their merits of beating lads that are knockout merchants or artists. And so that's the route that we have to go. We have to go down the different type of route and try a different way. But at the same time, everybody's trying to climb to get to the top, and we'll get to the top no matter what way.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing Mikey make his US debut. I said to him, nothing can go wrong now. Surely nothing can go wrong now, can it?
Well, listen, it's boxing at the end of the day, and we don't take people lightly. We don't really know much about this opponent and stuff, but at the end of the day, we've always had things up against us and a problem in front of us, and Mikey always manages to diffuse the problem. So, as well as being a problem himself. We're not taking this lightly. We haven't won the fight yet. Let's talk about this after the fight, and we can have a celebrational chat with Oscar.